it gives me great pleasure to introduce our mayor, Teresa Tomlinson. Teresa.
Thank you all so much. What an incredible sight. This is really something else. We've got all the movers and shakers here. Thank you for taking your time to be here today. That really means a great deal to the entire community. And Ed, thank you for that kind introduction. I don't know if most of you know, but when I was considering running for office, Ed was actually one of the first calls that I made, and your words of encouragement were important to me then and continue to be during this journey. We have some special guests with us today. My mom and dad are here from Atlanta, Diane and Bob Pike. The last time they were here in this kind of context, of course, was election night, and I tried to warn them this wouldn't be quite like that I didn't feel like anybody would break out into the electric slide, but it's a pretty good speech, and you don't know, they just might, but I appreciate them coming. This is their second home, and so they are very interested in the state of this city. And of course, my husband, Tripp, who is my partner in this adventure. He is with me every step of the way, and I thank God for you, truly. I want to thank the Chamber and the generous sponsors who make this happen. The more we do this, to me, the more intimate it gets. And so I hope you will indulge me a bit here as I share with you some personal reflections on this last 4 years and what I think are going to be some great years to come. We have two great mayors with us, Mayor Bob Potashev and Mayor Bob Heydrich. We stand on the shoulders of your leadership every day, and I thank you, gentlemen, for what you have done, not just during your term in office, but before and after your terms in office. So thank you very much for that. And we have our outstanding city councilors and our executive and administrative staff with us here today. I tell you something, these people get up every single day together with the employees of this tremendous city, nearly 3,000 employees, by the way, and they make it happen quietly. You don't know it, but they're making your lives easier, and I thank you all so very much for being here. Outstanding job. I want to thank our partners at Fort Benning. I've got a good feeling about this coming up here. I think we're going to keep what we got, but if we don't keep what we've got, I think we're going to get even more. And that's the truth of it. Gary, I want to thank you for what y'all have done, because the country in this local area here has invested $6 billion in Fort Benning. We are a state-of-the-art facility, and we just have to get the message to the DOD that they need to come on and bring some more troops here. So thank y'all for what you do. I want to also recognize my office staff. We have Lacey Morrison, who of course is the right hand of the mayor's office, and we have Sarah Lim, who is new with us but doing an outstanding job as public information officer and calendar clerk. And we have Judy Tucker, who is the executive to the mayor, who I have to say just pulled off one of the greatest events in the history of Columbus, Georgia, in my humble opinion. The MLK Dream Lives event was outstanding. And Judy, I want to thank you for that and all the hard work. Everyone, a lot of hands, but Judy took the lead, and it was tremendous. If you weren't there, you missed it. You missed it. As we're having all this fractious discord around the country, riotous discord around the country, in Columbus, Georgia, over 2,000 people, highly diverse, age diverse, race diverse, all walks of life came together, stood shoulder to shoulder, and marched down to the Liberty District and celebrated our one humanity and our one Columbus. And it was something else to see. And we had Joy Reid, who has a national cable show on MSNBC, and she recognized us for about 45 seconds yesterday on her show. And she said that Columbus, Georgia is the best city in the state of Georgia. And she said, no shade to Atlanta, and for all you people that need a little help being cool, that means no disrespect to Atlanta. So she said, Columbus, Georgia is the best city in the state of Georgia. No disrespect to Atlanta. So I'm going to stop saying that Columbus is the second largest city in the state of Georgia. Forget that. We're the 110th largest city in the United States of America, and we don't stand in anybody else's shadow. So I hope, as I said, you all will indulge me a bit. This year, we didn't do a formal inauguration. The way that the election fell, we actually had elections in May. And so by the time we were sworn in January, we had been in office for 7 months. And so it was a little awkward, and we didn't do the typical speech that you may have in an inauguration. And so this State of the City is certainly a State of the City. But I wanted to add in some of the accomplishments that occurred during those 4 years. Why? Share with you some personal observations, because the truth is that the nature of this job is such that about the time you slay the dragon of one challenge that has come at the community, you get no opportunity to revel in the coming together that resulted in that success before the next either opportunity or challenge presents itself. And so for the next 30 minutes, let's take a little opportunity to revel in some of the successes of this great community. So I'm going to share with you where our promise lies as a community, what threatens to hold us back, and how we're going to get to our impressive future together. I entered this position with my eyes wide open. I have been interested in and involved with government nearly my entire life. I cannot say that this is any different than you might expect of an executive position. From a management, political, and leadership standpoint, it's pretty much like any executive role. But it does come with its curveballs, and in those times, you will get great insight into the capabilities of the strength of our city, our civic leaders, and our citizenry. The accomplishments I'm most proud of are the ones that seem to least impress the reporters or the crowds. I'm proudest of the facilitation of a new tone of excitement and the encouragement of a strong community vision that has come about in this administration. We will reap dividends for years because of the leadership that never ceded the public discourse to the mischief makers and the naysayers. It takes a strong spine to stand against the cyber bullies and hold a space for the creative or more positive citizens to flourish. But I promised a broadening of the table in community voice and leadership, and that is precisely what has happened in these 4 years. Exciting new faces are emerging to place their hands on the wheel, and yes, some critics who long operated in the shadows have and will continue to buck that process. But soon they will see their continued civic relevance is only assured through collaboration and inclusion, and this will make our city so much the stronger. Columbus, Georgia is simply not going backward, so fasten your seatbelts and be prepared to be amazed by what we will accomplish in this budding 21st century. I also am proud of the 2011 intervention at the Muskogee County Prison in coordination with the Georgia Department of Corrections. I'm proud of it because it had never before been done, because it invoked a fascinating use of governmental jurisdiction, because it circumvented a potentially dangerous situation, and because it was total and absolute in its effectiveness. That process also brought us our warden, Dwight Hamrick, who is an exceptional leader and who has reformed our Muskogee County Prison. I also am proud of this action because of the unlikely typecast of the city's first female mayor being the one who, together with our outstanding city attorney Clifton Fay and assistant city attorney Lucy Sheftel, figured this out and got it done. It's government at its best, solving difficult problems through innovative means to avoid serious consequences and bringing about a long-term solution. For the same reason, I'm proud of the reform of the city's pension plan. It was headed for disaster, not in my term, but most certainly in the future. I could have done what politicians across the country have been doing for decades, and frankly, what many employees almost beg you to do, and that is pander. Give an easy, false solution, create the appearance of value given, and know the piper will never have to be paid in your term. But that's not leadership. And to me, it's a waste of the time you have to lead and to make a meaningful difference. So we set about an 11-month process to reform the pension and did ultimately reform it, saving $2.1 million thus far and creating projected savings of over $28 million and fortifying what is now a $358 million pension fund. What I love most about this accomplishment is that no one thought it was possible. Most thought it was political folly, and they waited with a bit of bemused anticipation for my utter political demise. But because of the incredible Pension Reform Commission we put together, their devotion to seeing a solution through, the pressing need to do something, the arduous education effort to inform everyone of that need, and our brave city council, willing to take a chance on a solution, we were successful and have reaped the benefit of that tremendous joint effort. I'm proud of the fact that we passed with near 60% approval the referendum on redevelopment districts, which had failed in 2007 due to misinformation and fear. Cynics and naysayers said it was a fool's errand to retry, but we knew better. What I relish most about this effort is that it brought together a blending of the old power structure and the new. It was beautiful to behold, and to me represents the new Columbus, Georgia political landscape. As a result of this new collaboration, we have an important economic development tool that we need to bring vibrancy back to the distressed and blighted areas in our community. And the citizens of Columbus have stated by their vote that they overwhelmingly support that objective. I'm proud of the fact that the citizens returned to office with large majorities, all incumbent city councilors and the mayor, busting the myth that hardworking, effective mayors won't be returned to office if they are challenged. Busting that myth has removed a bit of arbitrariness and instability from our local political world and was an important milestone in our political evolution. The citizens of Columbus have demonstrated their confidence in the good city government they are being provided, and we are most grateful for that affirmation. I'm proud of the fact that together we have done the hard work of getting our financial house in order. We have unanimously passed a $263 million balanced budget. We have implemented comprehensive employee health care reform, saving taxpayers $4.5 million a year while still providing value to our hardworking city employees. We renegotiated what is a one-sided, decades-old contract with our partners at the medical center to save the citizens at least $500,000 per year, which again, most said could not be done. We increased base pay for all city employees by 6% in 4 years, despite remarkably challenging financial circumstances. And we did so in order to preserve the valuable resource we have in our municipal public servants. And we have thus far avoided layoffs and furloughs of city employees. Recently, while reviewing the briefs in the troublesome, unproductive, and costly litigation against the city by 4 elected officials regarding their budget levels, I noted that one stated that the more rigorous review process of which they are complaining popped up in 2010. Though I wasn't in office in 2010, I would state that 2010 probably is when they started to see a change in the city's conversation about our budget, because that is when we knew we were running out of money. As one counselor explained in the run-up to the bleak 2015 fiscal year budget process, we did not get here by accident. Council, in the aftermath of the 2008 recession, made the conscious decision to live off our then healthy general fund reserve to avoid layoffs, furloughs, and serious impact to citizen services. At a clip of using some $5 million a year from our reserve savings account, and given the near decade of flat city revenues, we knew by 2010 that we were in choppy water and that systemic adjustments had to be made if we were going to maintain the vibrancy, the promise, and the quality of life that Columbus has always provided. By the time I took office in 2011, I was greeted with a foreboding tale of what our financial future looked like. Together with our outstanding city manager, Isaiah Hughley, and finance director, Pam Hodge, we immediately set about to propose the seemingly impossible reforms previously mentioned. These efforts to reform city finances have had a positive effect on the viability of the city. Just last year, we faced the prospect of laying off 100 to 120 employees with severe impact to city services. Because of the leadership and the teamwork of the legislative and executive officials, tough decisions were made to eliminate inefficiencies and change the way we do business. As a result, those 100-plus jobs were saved, and nearly 12 days, or some $5 million, were added back to our city's general reserve fund, only to have the goalposts moved by the new application of a municipal accounting principle. This application and the resulting reduction in our reserve brings us back down perilously close to our required 60-day threshold. Had we not made the significant financial changes we did in the last 4 years, and this principle had been applied, the effect would have been devastating for our city, our employees, and our citizens. However disheartening this move of the financial goalpost, it gets us closer to a truer number of where we actually are and what monies are available for the use and benefit of our city. Regardless of the new playing field, our recent history tells us that we have the necessary leadership to steer Columbus through these fiscally challenging times, that our tough decisions have worked, that we can solve these issues, and that we have another tough year ahead of us. The successful navigation of this city over the last many years cannot be taken for granted. Too often, the path was narrow and the banks steep. But few of you know fully and appreciate fully the most perilous moments, and that is because we enjoy good, solid, responsible government here. And that is the very point of government, to make sure you get up every day to live the most productive, pleasant, and rewarding life possible, unencumbered by the worrisome details of how our civic infrastructure assisted you in doing so. We need to take a moment now to commend an extraordinary group of leaders, our City Council and our executive administrative staff. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. They have made the tough decisions to keep this mighty municipal city on the surest footing possible, though not without controversy and consternation and confrontation, which is to be expected if good, fair government is to be the result. I attest today that you, as citizens of this great city, have municipal leadership of which you can be proud, and it is my privilege to serve among them. We have all been inspired by the legacy of this city and are grateful for the tremendous citizenry we serve. Despite these austere times, it is remarkable what has been accomplished. We have utilized assets and opportunities to build infrastructure we need to keep the city moving forward. We have seen impressive performances by our devoted CCG employees and our department heads who, year after year, have found creative ways to do more with less. And we have had the benefit of our civic partners who are always thinking outside the box to make Columbus a great community. Here are just a few such civic accomplishments. Through innovative finance mechanisms, we have invested in a long overdue state-of-the-art software system for our tax assessor and our tax commissioner. Finally, you will be able to pay your taxes online and access parcel and valuation information in a snap. We have started the transformational process of revitalizing distressed areas in our community by bringing much-needed retail with nearly 400 new jobs to Victory Drive, redesigning the Buena Vista Road Spiderweb Impasse, commencing the South Lumpkin Rails to Trails project, and planning the revitalization of City Village. We are on the threshold of ending homelessness as we know it, thanks to our partners such as Home for Good. We have obtained 255 vouchers to house homeless within the next 2 years. In addition, Columbus was one of only 69 cities nationwide to be selected to participate in the Zero 2016 initiative, a national endeavor to end veteran and chronic homelessness outright by December 2016. Our Parks and Rec Department has achieved national accreditation with a near-perfect score, joining just 135 Parks and Recreation departments out of over 15,000 across the country. Our Animal Care and Control Center has again decreased our pet euthanasia rate from the horrific 80% in 2010 to 29.5% in 2014. Our center and its Save a Pet program has become nationally recognized, and this year received a much sought-after $600,000 grant from PetSmart Charities to continue this important work. Our new Recycle Center is taking in approximately 700 tons of recyclables per month, increasing our recycling revenue 466% and saving the city millions in landfill costs. And as a complement to our Whitewater course, we have launched our exciting new zip line, connecting the adventurous spirits of Columbus and our partners in Phoenix City. This is an impressive list of accomplishments for any city. It shows us that we continue our innovative, solutions-based leadership despite our challenges. That's good news because we have a great deal more to do. Columbus is now the 110th largest city in the country with over 202 residents. We are a dynamic community that others visit and study to learn of budding best practices and proven solutions. We are a player at the table of economic development, growth, and quality of life in this region, having grown 6.8% since the 2010 census, nearly twice the rate of growth for the state of Georgia. Open any Georgia Trend magazine and you will see that we are a city and a region that gets things done. As a result, we sit on the cusp of a new era where mid-sized cities are sought after, and Columbus, Georgia is in the sweet spot of that new era. We also are sitting on the threshold of our city's bicentennial. In 2028, just 13 years from now, we will be at a seminal mark in our history, a time to reflect on whether we have been good stewards of the legacy we have inherited. Is our current vision worthy of the innovation, ingenuity, leadership, and talent that brought us Coca-Cola, Aflac, Fort Benning, Uptown, Whitewater, Columbus State University, and the River Center? Are we ready for a future that today is largely unknown? We do know this. Now and for the next several decades, quality of life will define the most desirable, competitive cities. Quality of life emanates from an authentic sense of place. It is found in those cities that establish a broad sense of belonging among its citizens and a comfort that every aspect of their life, from education, work, family, and security, to mind, body, and spirit, is facilitated by the civic infrastructure. Quality of life puts a direct economic value not on land deal subsidies or tax abatements for potential employers, but on public space aesthetics, walkability, bikeability, wireless connectivity, neighborhood and regional transportation networks, education resources, innovation, cultural arts, public transit, and civic amenities. Cities with a superior quality of life will attract the best talent, the next 3M of a generation ago, and the next Google of today. Are we ready? We have a good start on the public amenities and public space aesthetics, but we are largely an auto-centric community with little pedestrian or bike grids. We have solid cultural art and education resources, but to date we have limited public transportation systems and little public space wireless. But the biggest hurdles we face to a competitive quality of life are our defective tax structure and our poverty rate. These two factors are non-starters for a successful future. They directly affect our city services level, our ability to compete for jobs and talent, our education system, our workforce, our crime rate, our citizens' health and well-being. We cannot move forward as the great city we are poised to be unless we deal with and retool our current tax system and the vast areas of poverty in Columbus, Georgia. We have to admit to ourselves, as many have, that our current tax structure is strangling us. It just is. Frankly, we are beyond our capacity to provide the current city services level, and yet citizens and businesses demand more of us every day. Between our 9 mil cap and our absolute property valuation freeze, our growth has been capped and frozen as well. And I will tell you this, a solid majority of citizens recognize it and understand the need for urgent change. That is why we have laid out a fair, sustainable new tax structure for a new day. I discussed this plan in the 2012 State of the City Address, and it has been written about and discussed in editorials and forums for several years now. The proposal simply is, if you have the property tax freeze, you keep it. All new transfers do not vest in the freeze, but vest in a new system with an increased $20,000 homestead exemption tax break. It's time to thaw the freeze. The proposed new tax structure does not lift the current tax freeze. It honors the commitment we made to all those who currently have the freeze and allows them to keep it until they transfer their property. So saying that efforts to lift the freeze have failed twice previously and should not be tried again is simply a false narrative. This proposal has never been posed before, and it has never failed, and it will not fail. There is no way Columbus, Georgia should tax its citizens on property value they can prove they no longer own. But the freeze makes us do that. There is no way that this city should penalize a senior citizen who simply wants to downsize to a less valuable house. But the freeze makes us do that. There is no way Columbus should have a welcome strangers tax, which encourages newcomers to live beyond our county line. But that is exactly what the freeze is. There is no way that an owner of a house worth $80,000 should pay more in property taxes than an owner of a house worth many hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the freeze makes that our reality. Enough already. We can and we must do better. As I speak, some are thinking, as they did with the pension reform issue and the redevelopment district referendum and the supposed Columbus mayoral reelection curse, that this proposal is doomed from the start. Well, I will tell you this. I have run on this issue twice. I have been elected with significantly more than 60% of the vote twice. And we just finished a referendum wherein mischief makers tried their best to confuse the referendum opportunity with a fatalistic collapse of the freeze promise, and the citizens showed they knew better. Columbusites chose opportunity over fear and misinformation because we, the civic leaders from all walks, bound together and would not let fear and misinformation control our future. The citizens joined with us by a factor of near 60%. What I propose today is viable and will indeed pass, and pass comfortably. There is a new day, a new era in Columbus politics, and the past is not prologue. I invite you to get on this train of the future with me, and let's get this right. I'm going to ask that the proposal to adopt a new property tax system be placed on the November 2016 general election ballot. This effort starts with our city council, who must request it of our state legislative delegation, and then we must have the support of our delegation to get it on the ballot. And so let me be specific about what each of you must do. You must begin now to have conversations with each of the city councilors and members of our state delegation, asking them to support putting this proposed solution on the 2016 ballot. They do not have to campaign for it. The issue and the opportunity will carry itself, just like the redevelopment district referendum did. But pledge to them that you will aid in providing them the political cover they deserve to take this bold step. Tell them you will carry the mantle of speaking to your relatives, neighbors, co-workers, and friends about this issue to garner their support. We have to implore our elected officials to do what they have always done year in, year out, and that's put Columbus first. We have to implore them to give us the opportunity to reap the benefit of our growth, because right now, under our current property tax system, our growth is nearly breaking us. I believe that if they know you want it, that you will help see it through, they will be there as they always have to move this city forward. Of our city councilors and our delegation, I ask only that you keep open minds and hearts to this ballot request over the next several months as we hear from citizens. Anti-tax groups will be organized against the effort under the misguided suggestion that the tax freeze is good policy because it smothers government, and that's what we need, smothered government. I'm sorry, but I don't understand that reasoning. Prosperity has been directly related to highly effective government and superior services in too many studies to suggest that unduly limiting your local government is somehow in the community's best interest. And others simply may be unmoved by our urgings, and that's fine. I respect that. But we cannot let their recalcitrance to accept a solution to the weight around our community's neck cripple the future of this city. Going forward, this proposal liberates us from an outdated tax system, the purpose and functionality of which has long passed. This proposed tax structure has been studied by many, and it is lawful, fair, and an effective solution to the pressing problem we face. If you believe in democracy, then you believe in a community's opportunity to make decisions for their future, and we must insist that that opportunity be on the November 2016 ballot. Our next major hurdle is poverty. It affects everything: education, workforce, crime rate, economic development, quality of life, everything. We now have a 7.3 unemployment rate with 1,300 jobs added through November of 2014. That is 400 more jobs than the same time last year. This is steady improvement, but these new jobs are not finding their way into the distressed markets of poverty in our city. Despite all of the excitement and growth in Columbus in recent years, Muskogee County still has an above-average poverty rate of 19.6%. 1 in 5 people. The national average is 15%. We saw in Austin, Texas, on our recent intercity trip, that they have realized that the most stifling factor to their city's potential growth is their 19.1% poverty rate. And they are right. Just as our poverty rate is the rock around the neck of our ability to grow and prosper. Our city cannot compete, regardless of tax breaks, incentives, or loosened regulation, if the poverty rate is affecting our workforce and our quality of life. We just can't grease the wheel enough. In some areas of Columbus, we have 38% poverty and 18% unemployment. Prosperity left these areas behind when new and shinier infrastructure became available in the suburbs. The people and businesses that could afford to leave did. This unraveling of a balanced community has left large islands of economic distress with minimal opportunity in legitimate markets. The schools there are consistently underperforming because the teachers are social workers first and instructors second. And generally speaking, this is where a disproportionate amount of our crime occurs and where it comes from. I often talk about crime in terms of poverty because the two are inextricably linked. For instance, in Columbus, Georgia, we had 22 murders in 2013 and in 2014. That's horrific, unacceptable, and intolerable. And yet, that murder rate compares similarly to and is lower than cities with a population of approximately 200,000. Augusta, Georgia, 27 murders, poverty rate 25.4%. Birmingham, Alabama, 63 murders, poverty rate 30.2%. Mobile, Alabama, 27 murders, poverty rate 23.4%. Montgomery, Alabama, 36 murders, poverty rate 22.6%. Richmond, Virginia, 39 murders, poverty rate 25.6%. Similar-sized cities with poverty rate at or below the national average have less crime and lower murder rates. Aurora, Illinois, 3 murders, poverty rate 14.1%. Boise, Idaho, 3 murders, poverty rate 15.6%. Grand Prairie, Texas, 6 murders, poverty rate 15.6%. Huntington Beach, California, 3 murders, poverty rate 8.9%. Yonkers, New York, 7 murders, poverty rate 15.6%. Comparisons such as these tell us there is a correlation between poverty rates and crime and murder rates. That tells us something very important. We cannot expect our law enforcement resources alone to solve a challenge that we are not addressing on the front end by reducing poverty. We can talk about and applaud the additional $125 million we have invested in public safety since the OLAST in 2009. We can talk about the additional 76 police officers we have put on the street and the highly effective recruitment campaign called Join the Force for Good. We can talk about the new $2.5 million intelligence-based policing software we expect to be online this year, but we cannot talk about crime without realizing its root in poverty. If we want to reduce our crime rate further, and we do, we have to address poverty along with the ample resourcing of our Columbus Police Department, so ably led by Chief Rick Boren and his command staff. The good news is that in seeking to reduce poverty and improve distressed areas, we will be forging a path well-traveled. Through smart growth principles, many cities have reinvented and reinvigorated large areas of poverty, which, like ours, were too big to treat around the edges. We are going to have to partner with the private sector and apply concerted best practices planning strategies in order to rebuild these areas and the businesses that serve them. We will need the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Authority to join us in adopting as a major objective of their mission fighting poverty and redeveloping distressed areas just as they have done in Austin, Texas. We will need our landowners, our developers, our planners, community leaders, concerned citizens, and visionaries to join with us to revision these areas in a way that will reflect the culture, heritage, and strong neighborhoods that have long been rooted there. Improving the way our city is to grow will not happen by accident, nor will it happen overnight. It will take a sustained collaborative effort. But don't tell me that Columbus, Georgia can't do it because it's too great a challenge. Columbus is nothing more than a mass of people with spirit and ingenuity and a desire to improve their circumstances, just like people all over the country and all over the world. If it has ever been done anywhere, it can be done here. When we address poverty and economic distress, we will attract professional talent and high-paying jobs because we will have the workforce to support them in a community of which they want to be a part. When we have meaningfully addressed poverty and turned economic distress into economic vibrancy, every citizen will have increased opportunity and increased quality of life. In that Columbus, Georgia, all of us will prosper. And if we have a tax system that allows us to reap the benefit of that prosperity, we will be able to sustain it indefinitely into the future. That, my friends, is what our Columbus, Georgia legacy demands of us. It is time to recognize and say out loud, we are a great city. We can do anything we put our minds to. We have proven, capable leadership. We have a clear vision for our future. We are positioned to be a world-class mid-sized city. The state of our city is strong, and indeed, it will be stronger yet. Thank you all very much.